Welcome to Minority Report, and I'm your host, Michele Smith. Minority Report is a video blog on YouTube celebrating Black-owned businesses, and on this episode of Minority Report, I'm switching it up a little bit. I am interviewing an entrepreneur, but this is what I would like to call an investigative journalism excursion into some of the nuances of what it takes to be an entrepreneur, based on a couple Facebook posts that I had seen. So before I even introduce you to my new friend, I have a couple questions for her. So these are some questions that you might be familiar with. So let's start with the first question. Now this is going to be, let's see. What's the best old school album of all time? What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, Purple Rain by Prince, Thriller by Michael Jackson, Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder. That's hard.
It is. I feel like that's a preference question, but I feel like for true R&B, that's going to be Songs in the Key of Life, Stevie Wonder.
What's most liable to get you cussed out at the cookout? Mess up the potato salad. Renege during spades, don't bring anything, walk in and not speak.
I feel like the most fights and shade have been thrown. The fights break out when you renege on spades. That's when
the fights break out.
The fights break out. You just get little shade when your potato salad ain't right, or if you come in and don't speak. I feel like the most fights break out when you renege.
Now, as someone who does not play spades, I'm going to agree with you.
It's a huge issue.
The fights have been the reason my entire life why I've never learned how to play spades.
Yeah, it's too much.
I done seen knives being pulled on people, and I'm just like, wait, not yet, don't do this. But the reason why I'm asking these questions is because my good friend Michele here is in a bit of a dilemma. I'm going to allow her to introduce herself, and then we are going to talk about a little bit of the what we want to call it. We're just going to call it an issue for right now.
Situation.
We're just going to call this a situation. And we're going to let you be the judge.
Okay.
Michele, take it away.
My name is Michele Sometimes. I'm a comedian and have been for a few years in DC, in the DC metropolitan area. I started producing shows, so I started a production company called Brainy Girl Productions.
Brainy Girl Productions. Got it.
Absolutely. And so we produce comedy shows in the city at the different comedy venues in the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we got DC comic in the house. I love my Black women entrepreneurs. But there are some times when we go into business, there are lessons to be learned.
Absolutely.
And you are in a situation right now with a very famous card game. Tell me a little bit about, first of all, let's talk about Brainy Girl. Let's plug that first before we start getting into the drama. So where can people find you, find your shows? Talk about that.
So I started Brainy Girl Productions because I felt like I wasn't given as a Black female comedian. There's a certain voice that they expect Black females to have, and it's all the same voice.
Okay.
And so they couldn't put me in a box, so my bookings were suffering, I felt. So I said, well, I'm going to make my own opportunities. I'm not going to wait for anyone else. So I started my very first show was at Wonderland Ballroom, sometimes comedy show. I've since handed that over to my co-Brainy Girl charity, Sade. And so we also have another show called Smash. It's a storytelling show about awkward sex stories. And we do... we just do lots of different shows in the city, and they're all interactive. So what's the thing that runs through all of it is there's comedians and they're doing their sets, but there's also a way for the audience to interact with what's happening.
Leading into the next question, and you're talking about your audience and how interactive your shows are. You started doing a show utilizing the game Black Card Revoked.
I did.
Which is the product of a company called Cards for All People.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's the company.
That's the company. Cards for All People is the company.
Mm-hmm.
The game is Black Card Revoked.
Yes.
And Black Card Revoked comes in multiple different themes. So we got the cookout theme, we got the shade room, we have girls night out, we have a card for the LGBTQ people.
We got the jollof rice one for the West Africans.
For the West Africans. Okay, so what I find interesting about Black Card Revoked and all of the different subsets of Black Card Revoked is it is, in my opinion, it's cultural appropriation. Mm-hmm. It's another form of entertainment that isn't rap or hip hop or it just isn't music, and it isn't fashion, it isn't hair, but it is.
I don't know if I would call it appropriation. I do, because I played it with Black people, and so it was really great to see questions and trivia that was just focused on our culture.
And it's trivia because some of these things is not like there is no right or wrong answer. The game is really meant to provoke debate.
Yes.
And then in the debate is where you have the fun.
That's where the fun is. And
right.
And it's so there's some that have one correct answer, and there's some that are majority rules.
Majority rules.
And so that and I played the game, and
I played the game, and
so much fun.
I'm an owner of the game. So recently, I posted on Facebook. A lot of people posted it, but I shared the article with the announcement that Black Card Revoked is now going to be a game show, and comedian Tony Rock is going to be the host.
As I saw it.
And you saw it.
I saw that.
And you have angst about this.
I do.
Okay, so this is where we are now going to get into the issue that Michele is having.
Correct.
So explain to me what your dilemma is.
My dilemma is that the idea of using trivia, Black trivia culture, as a game show was my idea. And not only was it my idea, because I played the game myself, I thought it was fun. It was, and so I got an opportunity to do the game show, and I was contacted by Black Card Revoked people.
So the Cards for All People,
yes,
the company itself,
the company Cards for All People contacted me via email.
They contacted you via email after finding one of your Black Card Revoked events
on Eventbrite.
Yep. Now, I know when I first heard about your issue with Cards for All People, the first thing that came to my mind is like, well, I'm sure this is trademarked somewhere. Why would you put together a comedy show and then use the name Black Card Revoked and use their artwork? I was completely lost on that. But I'm going to need you to explain, because if anybody else is questioning this like I am, you can break it down.
Yep. So I was thinking that I'm going to use I didn't have the time for writing my own questions.
Okay.
So I was like, I'll just use, this is the game. And I was surprised that a lot of people don't know about the game. So I'm like, oh, this is great. I'll use it. And possibly, if there was a possibility for like a combination or for us to team up, that would be a great boost for me, because I would love a sponsor.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
So I was like, okay. And then when I was contacted by the folks, they said they wanted to know what my connection was with the company, and I told them that I had no connection with the company. That I was using the name Black Card Revoked, and I did use a picture of the box as a flyer, because I don't have, as I said, I don't have a sponsor. I'm doing this all on my own.
All on your own.
And I said, I understand. I will, change it. I will change the name, and I'll use my own original artwork. I said, but I do want to let you know that I have no connection with the company. All I'm doing is, I was using some of those questions as the basis for this comedy game show that I'm doing based on Black trivia.
So now this is where the dilemma kind of veers off. Explain exactly how you were using the questions from the game in your comedy show.
I mean, originally I was using the actual questions, by posing them to the audience and posing them to the comedian. So the setup of the game show is that I would have comics come up one by one. I would ask them a question. If they got it right, it would be great. If they got it wrong, then they would get a minute chopped off of their set.
So this is not like your own set where the entire set is just you questioning the audience.
No.
This is out of your production company.
Yep.
You're bringing in other comedians, and they're basically answering questions to earn time so that they can do their own set.
Do their own set. And the audience, they love the questions so much because when the comic gets it wrong, the audience is able to answer the questions.
And they're able to also win prizes.
Right.
So that's the game show
aspect of it. The audience member could prizes. What the comics are competing for is a complete time for their
time
set.
on the stage.
Right. So it's not
just shine.
Right. So it's not based on their card, the way that the game is played at all.
So Cards for All People, when they reached out to you, they informed you that they were also hosting events in the DC area.
So yeah.
So you went, right?
Right. Yeah. So their response to me was, I just don't want it to get confused with this. Please choose a unique name for your shows and your own original artwork, because we wouldn't want it to be confused with the events that we're doing.
And at that point, you changed the name.
Changed the name.
And
New flyer.
Yeah. Okay. No problem.
And what got me about it, because in the email they said we're not trying to infringe on what you're doing. We just don't want it to be.
So it was friendly fire.
It was so friendly.
It was not a full out, we're gonna sue you.
It was a question, right? And I was
get your coins together.
That's right. That is what I was afraid of. That's why I was like, no, that's not what I'm doing. I'm not going to do that. And I had just gotten a deal with DC Draft House to do the show, so I wanted to be very clear because I don't want them to get in trouble. I didn't want them to say, oh, there's too much nonsense, we're not hosting your show anymore.
So out of concern for the venue and to be fair to Cards for All People, to clarify what you were using the cards for,
I felt was
overshared.
I overshared in trying to make it clear that I was not infringing on the game itself. I wasn't receiving any money. I wasn't charging people to play the game. I wasn't doing any of that. I just wanted that to be clear.
Right.
And so I did that, and I think I overshared because. So then I go to see one of their events. Also, just to be sure that there's no overlap, like I'm not encroaching on what they're doing. And so I go, and it's literally just them teaching people how to play the game. Okay. So sometimes you have like these game nights where people come together and they're playing so literally it was like a table of 4, there's a table of 5. It wasn't like a whole audience. It was literally people coming and them promoting the game.
Right.
Now teaching them how to play.
So at that event, did you notice that they were playing for money or playing for prizes? It was just an informational, this is how you play Black Cards.
They would do it at different events, different venues, but yes, it was basically promoting how to play the game.
Got you.
Yep, it was a game night.
So it was basically a game night.
Yeah.
All instructional.
Yes.
Okay. So there was no playing for any kind of prizes.
No prizes. There was no comedy involved.
Nothing.
There's no game show aspect. It was literally just the people playing the game.
So then, how many months was it later when you saw that now Black Card Revoked is going to be a game show on BET?
So I found out maybe a month and a half to 2 months ago that they were trying to cast a, I don't know what they call it, but when they want to pitch it to somebody.
Right. So they pretty much they opened it up so participants could pretty much audition to be on the show.
Right. Like they were trying to get contestants.
Right. So then once you saw that announcement go out, how many months had gone by between them initially contacting you explaining how you are using it as a game show, as not just a plain game, but a game show, and then you seeing them announce we're looking for participants?
It was a very short period of time. I feel like it was maybe 3 to 4 months from point A, from the first time that they contacted me to the time that maybe 2 or 3 months when I got an inbox with a screen cap that somebody showed me that they were casting for. It was a very short time.
A very short time.
Yeah, and so, yeah, it was a short time.
So the issue is we're beyond the use of the name, the use of the artwork. You acknowledge that this is probably not a good idea.
Yep.
Let me not use their name at all. Let me not use their artwork. But the theme of a game show and playing the game for prizes, cash, time for comedians to do their set, that is your concept and your idea.
Yes.
And your angst is you feel as though
So I feel
it's too coincidental.
I feel like it was very coincidental because how quickly it happened, and also when they're in their response to me, they said that's fine. We don't want you to infringe on, and they sent me a link to their copyright. Okay. And the only thing that they sent me that said that I can't infringe upon is their artwork and the name. They've trademarked the name Black Heart Revoked, even though like this is something that we Black people have used in our vernacular for a long time.
Yes.
But they have now trademarked that. They have now trademarked that phrase, Black Heart Revoked, that title, and they've also trademarked the artwork of how, like the block lettering. That artwork that they use is copywritten. And so they sent that to me, and so I was not, and so their information to me was I can't move forward. You can move forward doing whatever you're doing.
Just don't
all
do
we
this.
care about is that you don't do this. And so I was like, cool. And the fact that they were cool with me doing it, and then so quickly after they start trying to get contestants, and then for me I was like, I'm not doing anything that is like we started writing our own questions, like all of those things. It just happened really fast, and they didn't have any idea about this game show format until unfortunately I told them about it.
The reason why I felt as though it was important to have you on Minority Report is because we've seen this happen. Prime example, the black woman who basically wrote The Matrix.
Yeah. That's the first thing my brother texted me about it.
And it took so many years for anyone to even acknowledge that her ideas, her screenwriting, her character development, all of that. It took so many years for anyone to even acknowledge, yes, we stole your work and we owe you money.
Yeah.
So I wanted to at least create a platform for you to be able to publicly say, this is what I did, this is what I didn't do. And it seems to me, and I am not an attorney whatsoever, but what is ironic to me is it appears to be the pot calling the kettle black. When they reached out to you and they asked you, don't infringe upon this and this and this and this and this. But then in your desire to be honest, your desire to explain yourself,
right?
And I think that's just something that we just as women we give away ourselves.
I was just trying to keep my venue and trying to be honest.
Right, trying to be honest.
I didn't want to make the venue nervous. I just wanted to just like, this is what I'm doing. Make sure that this is okay.
Right.
And they said, oh, that's fine. All we want to make sure is, and then in that I just like let it all out.
And then for them to ask you not to infringe upon them, and now it appears that
it appears that way.
It appears that they are infringing upon you.
Yeah.
And your format for the show.
Yeah.
With comedians, with the prizes, and the audience participation.
Right.
That is your brainchild.
I believe it is.
That's your baby.
I mean, it's something that I thought up. I mean, there is something that we talk about in comedy called parallel thinking. Somebody else might have been thinking about it at the same time, but the reason why it raises, the reason why it concerns me is because when they contacted me, they said what I was doing is fine, that they're not doing that. And so because they weren't doing the same thing, it was fine for me to continue. And so that's what makes me think, oh, well, if they weren't doing that before,
why are they doing it now?
Right. And so so it's on me to prove that this came from me, that they took the idea that I had to do what they had to do moving forward. And it's difficult because I didn't know, I didn't find out until later, until all of this happened, that you can actually copyright a treatment, like copyright the premise of something. You don't have to have, it doesn't have to be a play, it doesn't have to be a screenplay, it doesn't have to be a book. It could be just
a theory.
Right, just your intellectual property
That's right.
is something that you can copyright. And so I didn't know that until just now. So now I'm like going backwards and trying to do that and trying to get the dates squared away. And usually what the person told me was I don't have to have it to prove that it was mine, because I have other things that show, like my event rights and
Exactly.
and things like that go way in the past. But if I was going to move forward in any kind of litigation, I would need to refer to, this is the treatment, this is what we were doing, and that is something that, so now I'm in the process of doing that. It takes 6 months. So, but also what I did also when I heard that they were doing that is I got video. I have video of our shows. I had a promo that was done a way a while ago with the premise embedded in the promo. But I also have the exact footage from the show. I have the emails that were sent to me, which are of course dated.
Right.
So, I mean, hopefully going back to like the first time I ever did the show would say that this is something that I did first. So even if it was parallel thinking and they thought of the idea second, I mean, it was, and they didn't get it from me, which I don't believe it's possible. But even if that's the case, like, oh, well, we thought of this and this is how if I was doing it first and I copyrighted it, then I would at least need to be credited. Because now every time that I do my show, that they have already said has nothing to do with what they're doing, I promote their show and I don't promote myself.
Right, exactly.
No one's gonna look at the show on BET and say, oh, they're copying Michele sometimes, or they're copying Brainy Girl Productions. It's gonna be the other way around. Oh, they're doing that show because of this thing on BET. So it kind of minimizes what I do, and that's important to me.
Exactly. You don't know what you don't know. So you don't know.
I was just trying to get stage time.
What you don't know. So right, exactly. You were trying to earn stage time, trying to create a platform for other comedians.
Yeah.
Exactly. This has been, just an interesting development, and I, like I said, I have the card game myself. I love playing the game, but when it comes to business, we have to cross all of our T's, dot all of our I's, be very, very mindful of, what our competition is doing, what they are not doing, but then also not allowing ourselves to be taken advantage of. And I think that is possibly what happened. In your case, it's possible that is what happened. So I am sis. I'm voting for you, boo. Like
I'm working on it.
I'm hoping that you get the outcome that that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Let this be a lesson to you. If you do not know how to copyright, how to trademark, find a professional to do it for you. What other lessons have you learned from this?
Part of it is like not put on part of it is not putting myself on Facebook, but part of it is like if I hadn't, there would have been no record of me doing what I was doing. So, but the biggest part is I didn't know that you could trademark or copyright your ideas. And so that's the biggest thing. I think that's the biggest thing. Like I started to think about another game, and they were helping me like online, and then immediately I went and I trademarked the treatment immediately. So if anyone says who has the same name of a show that they're trying to do, or the premise is the same, nope, I got it, and here's my number. So I can email somebody else.
No.
Say,
I got this.
That. I got it.
I got this already.
And so so that is been a big lesson, and also I don't have to give up everything in order to prove that I'm not a crook. I could have just said, okay, I understand, I will not use your name, I will not use your artwork moving forward.
Thank you.
That would have been the end of it. That's all I needed to say. And
oh, baby, it's gonna be okay.
We're trying to be super honest.
Trying to be honest, and this coincidental situation happens, and I hope you go forth. I wish you much success.
Thank you.
If there are any comedians who are interested in working with Brainy Girl Productions, how can they get in touch with you?
They can follow the show page on Facebook, Brainy Girl Productions. I also can be found on at michele.sometimes@gmail.com. They can email me directly for time for the 3 or 4 shows that I have.
Of it. I want to thank you so much for being on Minority Report. I thank you so much for sharing your story.
That was like to yes, that was great.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. I wanted you to be able to come and vent and feel like somebody is hearing you, because I think sometimes in situations like this you find yourself in a silo and it's like, okay, everybody's against me. They're telling me that I did something wrong. But I know that I was trying to do the right thing, in the spirit of trying to do the right thing. Now I feel jilted, and I didn't want you to continue to feel like that. If you feel like everybody's against you, Minority Report got you. Like, you got somewhere to come and tell your story. And you know, I know you got family and friends who are like, go get your money, girl.
I do.
You do. Okay.
I do.
Get your money, boo. I thank you for tuning into Minority Report. Don't forget to follow me on social media. I'm everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Email me. Hit me up on YouTube. If you got a question, comment, or concern, you can find me everywhere. But I definitely want to thank you for tuning in, and I will catch you next time.